Welcome back, you guys. We're going to update the note, and this part's the hard part. So here's our page when we're logged in. We have the edit, cancel works, and save actually submits a form. So there's a couple things we have to do, and one of them is I don't want to display the content here. So if I type about me and say this is my story and create it, and I refresh the page, it should have displayed, there it is, about me, this is my story. I feel like this should be clickable and then it displays the content below it. So first let's do that. I'll go to my template and I have my little navigator open. It's Control and 7 to open it, or window navigating navigator, and I'll just go down to my note edit. Okay, so whoops, we want to go to note, I apologize, and just delete this content line here. So I'll just go ahead and delete. Okay, and for the title I'm just going to make this an anchor tag like that, and we'll get to that eventually. So if I go back here, I'll refresh, and now it's just my anchor tag, and it would display something. One thing I should do is just add a space here so the edit button's not right next to it. Next, let's get to work on posting this form. So here's our form, and we need to give it a class. So I'll call this class equals note edit form. I'll just copy that. And in our event, we have update note. So let's go to update note, and I'll just paste that in there. And we're really just going to use one of these live events. So I'll paste that guy there, and I'll change the class here, and make sure you have your period before there. Okay. And we're going to do a dot post. It's going to post to a URL with post data and a callback and JSON. Just a reminder, what's happening is we post to URL. This will be data in object form, and this is our callback after it's done processing. And the O inside here gets passed into this closure, and O represents the JSON data, and I have JSON there, so that's what I receive back. So the jQuery knows to treat it as a JSON object. I will say that you can also type post JSON like that. That was in earlier versions. I don't recollect if it's still available. I think it is. I still prefer to do this way, but if you do it that way, you won't forget to put this JSON string down here. So I'll just say if o.result equals 1. Same thing we do every time. And we'll just say error saving result.success, and we'll say successfully updated note. Okay. Now there is no URL or post data at this moment, so let's see how we want to do this. First, I'm going to check and make sure that when I edit a form, it does not change the page. If it's not changing the page, then you're good. So we need the URL, and the URL is actually in the form. If we look at this, it's under action right here. That's the URL, and it's just easier to get the action from the attribute selector. So what I'll say is var URL equals this attribute action. Okay, and the post data, it's going to be serialized data, or we could select individual data. There's a benefit to it in the fact that we can do it in one shot. It'll just collect all the data we need. In this case, we only have 2 items, so it's not a big deal. We're going to have to add a third item though, and that's going to be the note ID. So go ahead and duplicate your line. I press Control Shift down just to remind you. We'll make this hidden. The name will be note ID, and the value will be, note ID. Okay. I'm going to give these classes right here. I'm going to give this a class of title, and I'm going to give this text area a class of content. And you might be wondering, well, why are you going to do that? The reason is, if I'm inside of the form scope and you imagine everything's tabbed over, I have my object here and I want to select my title. It's just easier to do it with a class. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'll say this.find.title. Okay, that's a lot easier than saying this.find input name equals title. It's just a little shorter. So I'll say var title, and we want to make sure we have all the goods. So I'll go ahead and console log title. If I know I can get it this way, I know I can get all the other stuff. We also don't want to forget this guy. Class equals note ID. Now I'm going to provide this code at the end of this series because you might get this wrong and it's a little complicated, and I know it's hard to see a little bit on my screen. I can only fit so much code here so that it's readable. So hopefully this is enough to follow. So I'll refresh, edit, and DD. Oops, I did that on click event. It needs to be submit. So let me just fix that one moment. Body on submit, not click. Edit. Okay, so let's see what it found. Input.title. That's not what we wanted. So let's go ahead and do .val because we want to get the form value. So I'll duplicate this. Actually, let's make our post data variable now. I'll say var post data equals an object, and I'll say title will be this guy, and we'll say content. Change this to content. And I guess at the top, let's put a note ID. Remember how we gave these class names? Okay, so post data. And then that will post there. So let's give it a whirl. Make sure there's no errors in our console. Test, save, and check our network tab. Update note. I have my XHR selected down here so that I don't see all of this junk. So update note, and let's see what we posted. Note ID 5, title test, content test. Cool. So let's build a response in PHP. This will be quite easy. Let's open up our API. And let's go to update to do, because we'll just copy the code from here. Then we don't have to retype it. Sometimes it's really good to retype your code though, but we'll do it this way for now. This will be called note ID. Okay. So note ID. And let's see, what do we got here? You know, there's another way we could do this. Let's just cut this input post, and I'll go ahead and delete this, and I'll say content title, and we'll say title is that, content is there. We need to change this to our note model. And you see my little red arrow? I forgot my comma. Okay, and I'll put note ID in there. So Result equals note model update title, content with the note ID. If the result is successful, it will have an affected row. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. Edit, I'll say test, save, and it updated the note. Now you notice nothing changed yet, so let me hit cancel and I'll go ahead and refresh, and there it is, test. Let's try it with 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. Refresh. There it is there. So one thing we want to do is change this DOM instantly. To do so, in our event, we're going to want to use the post data.title, okay? And this is what we're going to populate the new template section with. So let's look for note. So we have a div ID of note underscore object note ID. I'm just going to give this guy a new ID, and I'll say note title underscore object note ID. Now we could get into traversing like we did with this class, how we had the form, then we did find class title. And this may seem inconsistent, but we'll mix it up a little bit and you decide what you like best. I will say that ID lookups are a lot faster because it's native in ECMAScript 3, which is, I think that's the latest. So, boom, boom, plus, plus. Oh, already had that. Object.noteID. So we're going to look for the note title with the note ID. So I'll say note title plus postdata.noteid.html, and we're just going to put in this post.title. I'll move this under the result success like that, and hopefully that updates that. So edit, test, and there it is there. That's exactly what we want. So cancel, edit, hey. Let's make sure the content's saving. I'm going to open up my database and go to my note table. And here's hey. So, whoops. I'll say jargon and fish fries. Save it up. And F5 to refresh. I have jargon and fish fries. So that did update nicely. Let's take a look at this. One thing else we're going to want to happen is when we click edit, we want the title to appear and the content to appear. So let's do this. Let's go to our template and we'll just make a output plus equals. We'll say div class equals hide. I don't know yet if we have that working. It's part of Bootstrap. It's hide or hidden. We'll find out. And in here we're going to put object dot content. So let me refresh and let's see what happens. We'll look at jargon, and here it is, hide fish fries. Good. So if I look at this, this has a note title. Let's do a note content class ID. So I'll copy him, the title ID, and paste them right here. And I'm just going to change this to note content.